Sure. So Camu Camu is a berry, a Brazilian berry that grows in a bush. It's a little rounded red thing that actually we're not using the fruit itself, we're using only an extract form in the dosing of 1,500 milligrams. So the story is quite interesting. We found out about Camu Camu initially because of research being done in patients with obesity and overweight, and noticed that in the analysis of their own gut, the bacteria that grew mostly were bacteria that historically had been associated with better responses to immunotherapy. So this work was previously done in the melanoma and non-small cell cancer space. So we took that knowledge and applied it to an animal model. Actually, the researcher leading that effort is Dr. Bertrand Raudig, who is absolutely brilliant, and he's based in Canada. And he noticed in these animal models that there was a quite important tumor shrinkage when we were using this extract in combination with immunotherapy. So now 3 trials are being done, 2 in Canada, 1 in melanoma, 1 in non-small cell lung cancer, and our own here at City of Hope with RCC. The microbiome has been closely associated to response mostly with immunotherapy. So one example, for example, is the more abundant the species of the bacteria are in the gut, the better responses we tend to see in patients. We saw that initially also in efforts being done mostly in melanoma. So we applied that knowledge to 2 previous works done by our group, one led by Dr. Disman, the other one led by Dr. Ibrahimi, that we used this live bacterial product called CBM5F8 that works in a manner that increases the favorable bacteria within the gut, and that showed quite impressive responses. So the response rate and the clinical benefit increased 3 times from the baseline. So we had already had some idea of the importance that this type of approaches, the benefit that they could lead. On the toxicity profile, so at this point there isn't very strong or compelling evidence relating the use of these compounds or the microbiome itself to development of very important immune toxicities. So at this point I can be completely sure about that association, but it's something we're really looking at. On one part, we had already seen in the Checkmate 214 trial that around 20% of patients have primary resistance to immunotherapy, which is 1/5 of patients, which is actually quite a important number to have into account. So there's a need to find ways to overcome primary resistance. So that's one reason. And the other one that's closer to my heart is, I was trained, and I grew up in Mexico, I was trained over there. And we have to be quite realistic that there's areas in the world that the most, novel, drug compound might not reach such areas because of disparities, because of economy, because of the cost related to that. So I think an area of quite important mandate we are having in the world is to have approachable, novel treatment strategies that can reach out to very large communities and not only, certain areas of the world. So that's the reason behind our passion behind Camu Camu. The design is as follows. It's a phase 1 randomized trial that we are using a 2-to-1 randomization because we want to increase the exposure of the compound to the largest amount of patients. So there are 20 patients are allocated to the experimental arm, which is Nivo-Ipi with Camu Camu, in comparison to 10 patients with Nivo-Ipi. So we decided for that trial actually because our prior experience with CBM that on one part, because it's a compound that is first in use in this context, we needed to have more data related on how it works, and also actually some of our secondary endpoints are more related to blood analysis, cytokine, et cetera, et cetera. So we decided the biologic endpoint because we really want to understand what's happening in the gut, and if the change we're trying to induce with this compound is the one that would be explaining the change and the increases in the responses. But we're looking at responses as also secondary endpoints with overall response rate and progression-free survival. Right now we have accrued for 9 patients, and what can I say is that we have had very positive, experience and so far no important, toxicity signals or anything. So the possibility for it being successful, I couldn't even ballpark a name, but at least the thing that I could say is that there is already 2 cases reported in the literature with melanoma, melanoma patients that they use a dose in a little lower than ours. They used, instead of 1,500 milligrams, they used 1 gram, and they had very important responses. So, I mean, I'm quite optimistic with this trial. Oh, we hope to have our, results back probably, hopefully for 2025. Our, trial is open for accrual in Southern California. So if anyone is interested in knowing more about the trial or discussing any of other, things that we can have related to microbiome, we're very open, and with open arms, we'll see you at Seed of Hope.